I always start like this. And now the translation will be really confused because I will take it on my language as a start. Mun kiihtän. Mun län Svakko piehtärä Edith Anna-Stina. Ja mun kiihtän hui ollut tää Estlanda kiehtä tuoje att mun pesän teikin puhtit. Now I took it on Swedish as well. This was on Sami, North Sami. And actually, Sweden, it's not my home. This is my home. Sápmi. The word Samiland comes from Sápmi. We don't use the word Lapland. And I want you to know where I come from. The northern part of Sweden, Finland, Norway, and a part of Russia. That's our land. We don't recognize the borders. We don't care about them. I am from a small place close to Gällivare. I live in a small village with 350 people. And I told you that I'm my grandfather's daughter and my mother's daughter. That's our way to present ourselves on the Sami way, because then everybody knows who we are. I have a degree of Sami craft, soft materials, and I was told that it was the hidden heritage. But I actually liked that it was turning out to be another part, a shimmering heritage. But you have to live with the hidden word. I start with my roots, because in my culture, the roots are the most important part. Where you come from, whom your ancestors are, and who you are yourself. And this is a picture from the early I think it's like 1901, because it's a woman on the picture, and that's my great-grandmother. Her two sons, and the smallest one is my grandfather. And this is why I still work with my craft. This is their winter houses. They lost their reindeer herd maybe 6 years before this picture, and they had to be staying on the same place after that. So I have encouraged a poorness in my family. So my mom, she told me that you can actually live out of craft. But also my grandmother and my grandfather, they was knitting wool mittens as a part of their livelihood. Even my grandfather. And this is my great-grandmother, the one on the picture with the houses. This is Katarina, and she was famous to be a very hot-headed woman. She was not the softest person in the village. She had given me the strength to live with my craft. To the left is my mom, Edith. She passed away 7 years ago. Here she is really grumpy because they have curled her hair and put on high-heeled shoes because she was supposed to attend her brother's wedding. She was the girl who was dressed in trousers, had a knife in her belt, and rubber boots. She wasn't the girl in curly hair. This is me, 4 years old. I have borrowed one of the guy in the village, his fur coat, but I use the hat for the girls in our area, because our clothes are really important to show our roots and identity. But between them, these first pictures, between me and the things I work with today, I very often works in the museums. But this is a knife, and it's collected by our big Sami museum on the Swedish side. And it's my grandfather's brother who have made it. And he was the only man in the whole area of the whole Sápmi who made bears on his craft. Why? Was he connected to the bears? Was the bears giving him strength? Nobody knows. This is a knife in reindeer antler. We never call it horn because we call it antler. Some people say, oh, it's bone, but the reindeer doesn't have the bone on the head. But I am often digging in the museums, digging among old items. This is a reindeer, a part of the reindeer, we call it a bell band, to put around the reindeer's neck to keep the bell. This was early collected by museums because the bells were disappearing. The tame reindeers were disappearing. So this is from my area, Gällivare, and I got the inspiration and made a bag with, of course, self-tanned reindeer skin. And I know a lot of the knowledge that my colleagues have talked about today. Reindeer, wool, and how in the earth can Samis use these colors? For the first, when we were immigrating with the reindeers, we didn't have sheep. We didn't have the possibility to weave, spin, weave, and not the possibility to get the colors. We were not traveling with huge pots. So this is trading. If you know the Queen of England, Elizabeth, the crown on hers has a white trim of fur with black dots. Her mantle is red velvet, but inside and on the trim, it's white fur, and it's ermine. The ermine doesn't get white in England. It gets white in the Arctic area. We were trading the royal cloth against our furs. So the red is very royal. The blue, the indigo, we can't color this ourselves. But we lived with furs and leather clothes for a long time. So when we got this on the Norwegian coastline, from the boats from England, Portugal, Italy, and the Russian side, the Pomor boats, came with silk, beads. Samis love new stuff. That's why I don't wear a woolen outfit today. It's too hot here, you know. At home we have snow now, like that. So we have a modern development in our clothes still. A little bit more from the museum. This is from the museum in Stockholm. I got inspiration and I was supposed to make a bag to a big exhibition in Stockholm on Liljevalchs, the biggest art gallery in our country. Actually, this one was sold to Japan. So it traveled a long way. And it's only 13 centimeters high, all hand-stitched. And I also use sinew to make thread. So I use the whole reindeer. The sinews from the legs and the back. And sinew is that thing on the fillet, you know, the white stuff. You cut it off. It's gold for us. We make sinew thread. This is one of the bags I also have on the museum, and this is in Jokkmokk. It's from the Sami Museum, inspired from my area, with all these. We call it on Sami, the name for this is Njunnesuoran, and it comes from the word njunni, nose. So it's a lot of noses. And it's typical North Sami. We have different areas, but I will come to that later. We have a lot of heritage and shapes. This is a staff for a woman when they were driving with reindeers in the older times in a sledge. The only way of steering and stopping, it was with a staff in the snow. Because you couldn't put your legs outside. They couldn't reach over the edge of the sledge. So far away you could see, oh, it's a woman coming as that to visit me. Or a man. A man has a different shape. But I went to art school for 3 years, and then something happened. My teachers were telling me, why are you not using the Sami colors? It's so easy. Why are you not using the pre-Christian signs, the goddesses and the gods? No, I don't want to be as anybody else. I hate when it's too cliché. You know, like Sami. No, I don't like it. So I started in clay, actually, to carve these shapes. To the left, it's actually plexiglass, plastic. Not so good today. It's not so good for the environment. But I loved the feeling of ice. It looks like ice. I could look into this, it's like a mirror. No, it's like a window into, and I could look into it, like you can look into the ice. And I loved it. For me, this shape is for a woman who can steer and stop herself. That's important today. Because a lot of women are, they have to do everything. The clothes, the food, the children, the home, and the society is thinking, oh, you have to have a nice garden, you have to have nice clothes, your children has to be like this, and you have to have 2. And it can only be 2 years between them. Oh, no. So I also make a lot of print. This is on wool, of course. We use a lot of wool because we would have been freezing to death if we didn't use wool. I call this the 3 goddesses because we had 3 goddesses who were really important in the pre-Christian beliefs. And here is in another shape of it. It's, of course, in wool again, but it's also silk, organza, metallic silk organza. And these wool parts, this small one, it's actually, the militaries used them to wrap their feet. Squared pieces of wool, they wrapped the feet in the older days instead of socks. So I got like a huge box of these ones. And I bought them for, I think, like €1. Like a huge box. So I like to, and they were not used though. So, but I love to combine things who are not like perhaps meant to be wowing the world a bit. So back to the museum. This is also a reindeer antler piece, and it's for a bag, to clap a bag together. Maybe you have seen me today with a reindeer leather bag, and you clap it together instead of a lid or a lock or a zipper. We clap the bag together, and it's a really old-fashioned way of closing a bag. And it's in several cultures. I don't know if you have heard about the big ship Vasa from Sweden, from Stockholm. They found it in the sea, in the Bothnian Sea. It was actually over 700 pair of these. And they have checked them, and it's reindeer antler. So we don't know if it was a trading with bags, or if the people who were working at the boat, on the ship, if they had their personal belongings in those bags. It's really interesting. But I took it further. So I made the bag who you see me wear. I wear that today. This is in 2007 on a big exhibition. I had an exhibition with my friend. So we decided to do a traditional part of the exhibition, but then we made a new part. And this is so instead of antler, of course, plexiglass. Fish skin from lake fish on the bottom. It look on Swedish lake. I don't know what it is. It's like
What kind of cod?
a kind of cod. It's really slimy and greenish brownish, and it looks almost like an eel, but it's like thicker. My mom loved to cure fish skin, and she used urine. So when you prepare fish skin, you need to have a male urine. Women's urine doesn't help. It's something with the enzymes who doesn't take the fish smell away if you are not a male. The first morning of the exhibition opened on the evening, and we were so afraid what is going to happen. All the non-Sami people were going to the traditional part. But the Samis, they went to this part and like, huh? What? What have you done? Can you do like this? But that morning, the first morning, 3 museums were in line and they wanted this bag. I was like, ooh. So that was like me pushing a big door open to dare to go step away from the tradition, but the shape is still tradition for me. The knowledge about how to make things, but dare to step away from the tradition. Identity, I was talking about that from the beginning. This is a leather summer piece of clothing, reindeer leather, and the meat side turned out. Because if you turn the meat side in, you will get like stuck in the dress. So the meat side out, and it's from the area, the central Sami area. This woman, she's a famous Sami glass artist. She has been studying for several years in Australia. She came to me with a bunch of fabric, and it was like stiff, like a tent material. I was like, should I sew of this? So I had to go back to the leather clothing to make the same shape for her, because it was so stiff, so it would have been looked very strange if I was using it as a soft textile. Anyway, I was sewing 12 meters of hand stitches. All these long seams are hand stitched the second time, machine first. We love the sewing machine. We don't bother about sewing our clothes by hand. Ooh. I have like 27 of these. So how in my earth could I sew 27 by hand? No. So I was sewing these seams, and I was and it was like in glittery, white glittery thread, like steps in the snow. So when she was collecting it from me, I said, Monica, the name of this is luodda, steps in snow. Then she said, you know, my latest glass installation is totally white, and the name is luodda. So we had on the same time worked together, on the way together, and that's maybe really common among Samis, to be open-minded towards the old knowledge. Here I'm sewing, and she's working with glass. So it's the sun cross, the sign for the sun, because it's hot, and it's also snowflakes, because she loves the winter. And I really love that I still can work with my hands. Identity. This guy to the left, he was going to take the confirmation. We are totally Christians, the most of our people, and we get baptized, we confirmate, we marry in the church, and we get buried in the church. So I have been collecting knowledge about his grandfather's clothing, and because of that he has a yellow edge on the collar, because his grandfather had that. So he's from the northern part of the Swedish area, and we see geographically where a person are from. Sometimes, if you are a good seamstress, then you also can recognize from what family he is. And this is another clothing from the same area. One of our Sami artists have actually told me that I should use the word regalia, because it's not a folk costume, it is something higher. And we have also kept our tradition that non-Samis is not supposed to wear this, because it's the last part of our culture who we keep private. The language has disappeared. A lot of people doesn't have reindeers anymore. We struggle with a lot of things to not be accepted as a people. We are good as tourist posters, but to be able to live on our land and with our culture. You see, our young ones, they love to use the clothing. It's not only a costume, it's clothes to wear when it's big days, big events, to meet other people and socialize and read. Who are you? We scan. Who are you? From where are you? What family are you from? Are you married? Are you single? Are you a man or a woman? Today we have a lot of talks about the genus and the genuslessness, that, and we have a problem with that because we have so strict codes about men and women, how to get dressed. So this is two brothers from the southern part of our area, and you see the blue and you see the red. But guys has almost always more blue. The hats are blue, the chest covers are blue, and this is a girl, and she wanted not wool because she's a vegan. And I said, you know, yeah, but I want hampa, linen. I'm like, but above the Arctic Circle. So I forced her actually to have wool, because I said they don't slaughter sheep even if they take the wool. They were, oh, that's true. They are cutting it off. Yes. So I tried to help people on my own way. But of course we have the new times, and that's why I'm here today, to show you that the Sami shapes, Sami craft can be a modern thing. This is, I love jeans. This is jeans from Armani. I love the high fashion fabrics. I crash high fashion fabrics with my Sami heritage. So this guy, he wanted something Sami to put on when he didn't want to have the traditional thing. So here we can read where he is from, because of it's a square end here. Then we know that he's from Jokkmokk. He uses this a lot, and this is to see the person for me. And if he walks in Stockholm or Oslo or wheresoever, nobody could see that he's a Sami. But when a Sami pair of eyes is scanning, they know, ooh, a Sami person. And that's exactly what I love to do. My colleagues here were talking about death. For me, this was a big changing point of my life. This is from my mother's funeral. She was Sami craft consultant, and she worked with craft all her life. I couldn't bury her in a square box, so she is buried in a handmade wooden coffin in the shape of a Sami sledge. She herself decided who is going to carry her, so we were 6 women from her closest surroundings. And here is my extra little brother yoiking the wind when we are carrying her out. Her death started a new part of my life, and I had to understand that I am myself my own brand mark. It's not my craft, it's not my teaching, it's me. It's my knowledge. It's where I come from, where I stand all my life. It's me, and it's the only thing I can continue work with. So something happened. I met a photographer. The Jokkmokk market is a big, this is like, the fair here is like maybe a 50th part of our market. It's huge, and it's outside. And it's 30 degrees minus, maybe. But this is 26 minus, and it's in a garage in the town nearby. I met her, and we took these pictures in December, and our market is in February, and I was totally lost because of my mom's passing. I hadn't been sewing, not a stitch, and a friend of mine was asking, but Anna-Stina, can't you sell yourself? I'm like, no, not myself, but maybe my name, my knowledge. So I wrote to her in the middle of the night, 3 days before the market. And we had taken these pictures already. So she said, let's do the advertising about you and your knowledge. So this is a jacket, and it's made of the same shape as a cape for bad weathers, but I have made a jacket out of it instead. And this is actually Armani wool, but this is boiled wool. And then I have reused the zipper, of course. I bought it on a flea market. And these red pieces are actually pieces from a curtain I didn't sell. So then I cut it up into pieces. And this is traditional winter shoes. And we used the reindeer leg skin for shoes, gloves, and it's mink on the top. So this is the fancy ones. Usually we have not, the white are nice, and if they are dotty, like these are, they are dotty, then it's even higher value. So only for the leg skins to these pair of shoes, it's maybe 300 euros, only for the material, because it's so high level on the material. Yeah, I used to say, when I get a man, I will hang this above the bed. Then he knows who is the boss. But it hasn't been the case yet. And my man to come, he is not afraid of me, even if I look like this. So here is a coat from Lindex and a Sami dress. The material is from Armani. I have made the belt, and I have bought the shawl from a Sami crafter. And the silver is really important for us. That's why I have been polishing this one before I went here. It keeps the evil spirits away. Silver protects. But I got a big heritage from my mom. This is the treasure box. My mom's uncle made it for her when she was 15. And here it is. My mom's first ribbon that she wove when she was young. The silver cross from her confirmation. My grandfather's watch. The knife from my grandfather's brother. The needle houses. This one she got when she turned 50. This is from a late relative. In the flowery box she kept the silver, and actually this one. This, I had to do something with it, so my journey goes on. Here is my land. I'm born in a city where it's a big mine, iron mine, and they now moved the city away from the old place. So here we see roads and digging for gravel, and Norway is there somewhere in the horizon. This is how I felt the summer after my mom's passing. And this is also in the same time of the struggle against the minings, the new minings in our country, in our land. This is my way of have to decide to be seen. This is my birth town, and they are now moving it, and my ancestors' land is here, behind the mining. And this hole is growing bigger and bigger. That's because they have to move it away. This picture is in a Sami dress, but also a leather corset on top of it. And that means for me that they are pulling the strings to keep us where we should be on a way. I love to work with stitches as a fight. But new doors opens. This door is not so new because it's the wood shed in my cabin in the mountains. But anyway, I open a door, and behind that door was the new me. This is me on a big show, and Sieluin on Sami language, it's the name for to be, how could I explain it? In Sami it can be one word, and in Swedish and English it can be like two sentences. But to be with the soul, because everything has a soul. The nature has a soul, we have a soul, a culture has a soul, my craft has a soul. So this is, I made actually a rather big collection. This is a coat that my sister's daughter actually got last winter as a gift from her parents. So she was a lucky one. This is, the name is the wind. It's wool, all wool, but it's goat. Because we used in the older days wolverine, dog or goat skin as trim to not wear out the lower part of our fur coats. So still the shape of the coat is the Sami traditional shape, but and some of the inspiration in the materials, but it's totally taken out of the rest of it. People didn't understand what Sami thing this was. I do. It's called the autumn, and it's also goat. It's hand-cured reindeer leather by my mom. It's hairy tweed from the outer part of Scotland. I love it because it has the Sami cuts. It's also the part that the women wear in the belt to hang their tools in. Glass beads, we love them. You see, glass beads. A lot of things that we have traded during the years. This picture came out in the newspaper the day after the show. And the show has only been once. I love that. Why repeat something good? If people wasn't there, they don't need to say, I want to be there. Be there next time. So this is actually inspired by the fur trousers for women, but I have used an old leather skirt because it was too big for me. And this is Prada fabric in the jacket. And this girl, she was so happy because finally I had a hairy chest and I have hairy legs because she's a queer lady. This is my way of fighting against something that is trying to push me down. We have a saying who started in 1970s, CSV, Chaye Sami Voina, show the Sami spirit. And You can do it on your own way if you want to. It's a thing about daring. It's a thing about be consistent, not let go. If you want to live out of knitting, then you have to knit all the time. And don't give up. Have another work on the side, but try to understand if you have more legs on your chair, more than one. Because if you have one leg on your chair, you have to string it to the bum. You know, a milking chair, a modern one, has only one leg. But if you have 3 legs, then it stands by itself. Nowadays, I have 4 legs on my chair. And I even try to build a backrest so I can rest when I get older. You can if you want. Even if you don't get to be a millionaire, you are happy in your soul. And that's so important to understand. And I know that craftspeople like you understand. But don't let others' money decide if you are going to be happy. Be happy on yourself.